Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are going straight past the surface level.
Way past.
Our mission is to take these dense foundational systems of life, circulatory, respiratory, all of them, and really distill them into the surprising essential knowledge you need.
It really is a study in logistics when you think about it.
Right.
I mean, if you look at the simplest multicellular animals, say a little planaria flatworm, they just handle everything through diffusion.
Just using their skin.
Just their skin, simple body cavities. It's all they need for getting resources in and waste out.
Which is, incredibly elegant in its own way, but it puts a hard cap on things.
Oh, a very severe limiting factor.
You can only get so big before diffusion just becomes way too slow.
Yeah.
So to scale up, life had to, it had to engineer something new.
It had to engineer specialized transport systems. Exactly. And that infrastructure, in pretty much any large animal, always has three fundamental parts.
Okay, what are they?
First, you need a muscular pump. That's the heart.
The engine.
Second, you need a network of conduits, the vessels, your arteries, capillaries, veins. And third, you need the fluid itself, blood, which is essentially a type of connective tissue.
A high-speed internal logistics network. And since we're talking about that fluid, we have to tackle the biggest, most pervasive myth out there.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
The idea that human blood is blue inside the body. We're going to put that myth to rest with some hard chemistry in just a minute.
But first, let's unpack how these systems are actually built.
Right into section 1. The circulatory stack. So you have two main blueprints, right? Open versus closed systems.
That's right. The open system is what you see in most invertebrates, so insects, lobsters, that kind of thing. The heart pumps fluid, it's called hemolymph, into a central cavity, the hemocyle. The tissues are just, they're literally bathed in this fluid.
And I'm guessing the immediate consequence of that design is that it's
Very
slow.
sluggish. Exactly.
Yeah.
If the fluid isn't contained, you just can't build up any real pressure.
So the opposite would be the closed system.
Precisely. That's what you find in vertebrates, earthworms. The blood is always contained inside vessels, and that one change allows for specialization and, crucially, high pressure.
And when you contain the fluid, the performance just skyrockets. I mean, think about the vertebrate cardiovascular system. You've got the heart, a pump with two main jobs.
Right. The atrium takes blood in, and the ventricle forces it out.
And the plumbing attached to that ventricle is built like a fortress.
It has to be. The arteries, which always carry blood away from the heart, the aorta being the big one, have these incredibly thick, muscular, elastic walls.
They're not just pipes. They're engineered to handle a shockwave.
That's a great way to put it. They have to dampen that shockwave coming right off the ventricle's contraction.
Because that pressure has to be controlled before it hits the really tiny vessel.
So it hits the capillary beds. This is where, all the magic happens.
The exchange sites.
Exactly. Unlike the arteries, their walls are just one single cell thick. This is the only place nutrients, gases, waste, hormones, all of it can actually pass into and out of the tissues.
The scale of this is just, it's staggering. The estimate for the total length of capillaries in your body is something like 50 to 60,000 miles.
It's almost unbelievable. And the body has to regulate flow across that whole network.
You don't need blood everywhere at once.
Not at all. So you have these tiny nerve-controlled sphincters at the entrance to the capillary beds. They're like little gates. They can shut off a bed and redirect blood through a main channel, a thoroughfare, to bypass an entire area if it's not needed.
So after the exchange, the blood collects back into venules, then into the bigger veins to head back to the heart. So wait, if the arteries are so thick from the pressure, why are the veins so thin?
That's a great question. Because all that pressure has been lost, it's dissipated crossing those tens of thousands of miles of capillaries. By the time the blood gets to the veins, the pressure is very low. Its movement back to the heart isn't from the heart's push, it's mostly from your skeletal muscles squeezing the veins as you move.
So gravity is a real problem. That must be why veins need valves.
That's exactly why. The valves stop the blood from flowing backward, especially in your legs. Arteries don't need them. The pressure is always pushing forward. Veins need those little one-way doors.
Okay, we have to flag the one classic exception here that always trips people up. The pulmonary circuit.
The one time the rules are flipped.
Right.
Normally, arteries carry oxygen-rich blood, veins carry oxygen-poor, but the pulmonary artery takes that oxygen-poor blood to the lungs to get oxygenated.
And the pulmonary veins bring the fresh, oxygenated blood back to the heart. It's like a detour where the color coding is backwards.
And that high performance of the closed loop is just undeniable when you look at the numbers.
Right. For you, the listener, your entire blood volume circulates in about 20 seconds. At a pressure of what, 120/80?
Now compare that to a lobster with its open system, maybe 12/1 pressure. It takes a sluggish 8 minutes to do the same thing. High pressure is high performance.
So circulation is the highway, the heart's the engine. Let's dig into section 2,
Oh,
the heart's mechanics and the blood's chemistry.
that engine is just incredible. It beats, what, around 70 times a minute? Billions of times in a lifetime.
Huh.
One full cardiac cycle, one pump, takes about 0.8 seconds.
And that cycle has 2 phases, right? Systole and diastole.
Systole is the contraction, the pumping phase, and diastole is the relaxation, the filling phase.
But what about this sound? That lub-dub. It's not the muscle itself, is it?
No, it's not. It's the sound of the valve slamming shut.
Really?
Yeah, the lub is the big atrioventricular valves closing. The dub is the semilunar valves closing right after. It's the sound of the doors, not the engine firing.
That is so counterintuitive. And the coordination for all this is electrical.
It is. It starts at the SA node, the sinoatrial node. That's the heart's natural pacemaker. It sends a signal across the atria. That signal gets picked up by the AV node, which acts like a gatekeeper. It holds the signal for just a fraction of a second and then unleashes it down to the ventricles so they contract forcefully all at once.
And that's what an ECG is measuring, that electrical wave.
Exactly. The P wave on the readout is that first impulse hitting the atria. The T wave is the ventricles recovering. It's how you can spot abnormalities like tachycardia, which is just a heart rate over 100.
Okay, let's do it. Let's finally put this blue blood myth to bed.
Let's. The color of your blood is decided by one thing: hemoglobin. And hemoglobin is built around an iron-containing molecule called Hem B.
And the iron is what grabs the oxygen.
Right. And since 97 to 99% of the oxygen in your blood is carried this way, and your blood is always carrying some oxygen, it can't be blue.
So what color is it then, the deoxygenated blood coming back in the veins?
It's a dark, deep red, a maroon color. I mean, in a case of extreme oxygen deprivation, it might look almost black, but it is never, ever blue.
So why do my veins look blue through my skin?
That is purely an optical illusion. It's a trick of the light. It has to do with how different wavelengths of light are absorbed and reflected by your skin and tissues. The light that makes it back to your eye from the vein just happens to look bluish.
The blood inside is still dark red.
Still dark red.
Amazing. Okay, so what is this fluid actually made of?
Well, about 60% of it is plasma. You can think of plasma as the liquid vehicle. It's mostly water, and it carries all the proteins and salts, and it keeps your body's pH at a very stable 7.4.
Then you have the cells. The big ones are the red blood cells, the erythrocytes.
Right. These little flattened discs that are so specialized, they actually kick out their own nucleus to make more room for cargo.
And that cargo is hemoglobin.
A massive amount of it. Each red blood cell has about 200 million hemoglobin molecules. And you have about 25 trillion of these cells. It's a full third of all the cells in your body.
Wow. And they only live for about 120 days.
A short, hard life. Then they get recycled in the liver and spleen. The iron gets recovered, but the rest of the heme molecule has to be broken down.
And this creates waste products.
It creates yellowish pigments called bilirubin and biliverdin. They get secreted in bile. And that's the connection to jaundice. If your liver isn't clearing out bilirubin fast enough, it builds up and your skin and eyes turn yellow.
And then really quickly, we also have white blood cells for the immune response.
The leukocytes, yeah. A tiny fraction of the volume, but they can squeeze out of capillaries to fight infections.
Then platelets.
Which are just little cell fragments, but they're absolutely essential for clotting. They stick to a wound and release factors to seal it up. If you're missing those, that's hemophilia.
Okay, so we've established our iron-based hemoglobin makes our blood red. This is where it gets really fun. Let's go to section 3. Nature's diverse blood palette.
This is one of my favorite topics. The function is always the same, carry oxygen, but the chemistry, the solutions evolution came up with are so different.
Let's start with the blue-blooded animals,
Right.
like squid, octopus, lobsters.
And the horseshoe crab, an ancient one, their blood uses a pigment called hemocyanin.
And instead of iron,
It uses copper ions, and that's what makes it look blue when it's oxygenated. And it's not just for show. Copper-based blood actually works better in very cold, low-oxygen environments like the deep sea.
and then you have some marine worms that use something else entirely, hemerythrin.
Hemerythrin, right. It also uses iron, like our blood, but the structure is different. So it looks violet-pink, maybe purplish when it has oxygen, and when it doesn't, it's completely colorless.
Wild. And there's even green blood.
green blood, thanks to chlorocruorin. You find it in some leeches, some earthworms. It's also iron-based, and it's almost identical to hemoglobin, just one functional group is different. And it looks green in low concentrations.
But there's another even weirder way to get green blood, right?
Oh, this is the best part. There are these skinks, lizards in New Guinea. They have normal red hemoglobin-based blood.
So why is it green?
They accumulate insane levels of that waste product we mentioned, biliverdin, the green pigment. They just have so much of it circulating in their plasma that it completely overwhelms the red color of the cells.
So they didn't evolve a new pigment, they just
Right.
repurposed their waste.
Evolution is beautifully pragmatic.
And then you have the most radical solution of all, the Antarctic icefish. A vertebrate with no pigment, colorless blood.
No hemoglobin at all.
How is that even possible? How does it get oxygen?
Well, a few things have to line up. First, the water in Antarctica is extremely cold, which means it holds a lot more dissolved oxygen than warmer water.
Okay.
And the fish has a very sedentary lifestyle and a much larger blood volume than normal. So between all that, enough oxygen just dissolves directly into its plasma to keep it alive. No need for a carrier.
Absolutely astonishing. Okay, we've delivered the oxygen. Let's tackle sections 4 and 5. Cleaning up and fueling up. The excretory and respiratory stacks.
The excretory system, so the kidneys, is the master of homeostasis. It's all about balancing fluids, ions, pH, and getting rid of metabolic waste, specifically nitrogen waste.
Right, the stuff you get from breaking down proteins. And how an animal deals with that depends entirely on how much water it has.
Exactly. If you're a fish, you have all the water in the world, so you can just excrete highly toxic ammonia directly.
But on land, that's not an option.
No. So mammals like us, we spend energy in the liver to convert that ammonia into much less toxic urea. It still costs water to excrete, but way less.
And then you have birds and insects who are obsessed with saving water.
They go one step further. They convert it into uric acid. It costs a lot of energy, but it comes out as a paste, so they lose almost no water.
And for us, the kidneys are the engine of this. The workhorse is the nephron. And the scale of what it does is just mind-boggling.
Your kidneys filter about 125 milliliters of fluid every single minute.
Every minute.
That means your entire body's fluid volume gets filtered, get this, about 16 times a day. It produces 180 liters of raw filtrate.
180 liters.
Yeah.
But obviously we don't excrete that much.
No, you only excrete about 1.5 liters of urine. The system reabsorbs 178.5 liters.
An unbelievable conservation machine.
All through filtration, massive reabsorption of everything valuable like water and glucose, and then some targeted secretion of any leftover wastes.
Meanwhile, the respiratory system has one job, gas exchange.
Right.
And it needs a big, moist surface right next to blood vessels.
And you see other elegant solutions here too. Fish use gills with a super efficient system called countercurrent flow to pull the maximum oxygen from water.
And insects use a tracheal system, a network of tubes. But that has its own limits.
It does. It relies on diffusion, which is why you don't see insects the size of dogs. It generally limits them to about 5 centimeters long.
For us, the pathway is highly engineered. Air comes in the nose, gets warmed and filtered.
Passes the pharynx, the larynx, down the trachea, which has these cartilage rings so it can't collapse.
And then splits into bronchi, bronchioles, and finally ends up in the alveoli.
The little air sacs. And their walls are only 0.2 micrometers thick. Paper thin, pressed right up against the capillaries for the fastest possible diffusion.
And what controls our breathing? I think most people assume it's low oxygen.
That's the common assumption, but it's not the main driver. High levels of carbon dioxide in your blood are a much, much stronger trigger for you to take a breath.
Fascinating. Okay, last section. Section 5, the digestive stack, fueling the machine.
We are heterotrophs. We have to eat. And our system, like most vertebrates, is a very efficient tube-within-a-tube plan, mouth to anus.
And digestion is mostly extracellular, right? It happens in the tube, the lumen, not inside our cells.
That's right. It all starts in the mouth, mechanical breakdown from chewing, and the beginning of chemical breakdown of starch from an enzyme in your saliva.
Then that food, the bolus, travels down the esophagus via these involuntary muscle waves, peristalsis.
Into the stomach, which is basically a storage tank that also sterilizes everything.
It secretes incredibly strong hydrochloric acid. The pH drops to, what, 1.5?
Between 1.5 and 2.5, it kills almost all microbes and activates the protein digesting enzyme, pepsin.
Then that acidic slurry, the chyme, moves into the small intestine. And this is the main event.
This is where most digestion and virtually all absorption happens. And it's all about surface area. With all its folds and villi, it has the surface area of a tennis court.
But it needs help from a few other organs.
It does. The pancreas sends in a flood of powerful enzymes and, critically, bicarbonate to neutralize all that acid from the stomach,
And the liver produces bile.
which is stored in the gallbladder. Bile acts like soap. It emulsifies fats, breaking big globules into tiny droplets so the enzymes can get at them. Plus, the liver does, 100 other things, like detoxifying your blood,
And then finally, anything left over moves to the large intestine.
where the main job is just recovering water and electrolytes and housing all those good bacteria that make vitamins for us, like vitamin K.
So when you zoom out, you realize these aren't four different systems at all.
Not at all. They're one single integrated machine. The fuel you absorb in your gut is sent out on the circulatory highway, which is also carrying the oxygen from your lungs, while constantly taking the trash out to be processed by the excretory system. It's a perfect loop.
And even though our own four-chambered, iron-based, high-pressure system is this pinnacle of efficiency, the sheer variety out there, the copper blood, the colorless blood, the repurposed waste green blood, it just reminds you that there are endless solutions to the same fundamental problems.
The inner machinery of life is just this incredible palette of chemical possibilities.
Before we wrap up, here's a provocative thought for you to chew on. Hemoglobin's heme group is absolutely essential for our life. But our sources point out that high dietary intake of that same heme iron from red meat is linked to a higher risk of colorectal cancer.
Because of how it interacts with other compounds during digestion.
Exactly. So that raises a pretty critical question. What other fundamental molecules in our bodies are simultaneously essential for keeping us alive, yet carry these unexpected risks that are just inherent to their chemistry?
Something to ponder as you listen to your own complex engine run.
That's all the time we have for this deep dive. Next time you feel your pulse, just remember you are listening to one of evolution's greatest success stories.